Okay, my name is Cap Summerhays. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to my team. We give a little round of applause for them. I first got involved with the summit here about, 4 years ago when it started off with Al and Mallory, and I got to listen to their stories, and I was really impressed. I've known Al for quite some time. We used to work together, and watching this develop over the years has been really, really cool. So it is my honor to be here tonight, and I'm glad you guys are all here with me. I like hearing about biopsychology because it's true. The way that we think determines what our results are going to be, right? And it's all just one big chemical process. And for me, I discovered that there's this narrator that I deal with on a daily basis, right? My narrator started when I was really young, where we all start, we get our experiences, and it tells us who we are and what we are and how the world treats us and what we should expect. And then there's this mirror, this reflection that we get from the external world that validates that. So I'm just going to go through really quick, as fast as I can, and and give you guys a little rundown of my story. Not all of it, of course. We'd be here for 3 more days, and I know we don't have time for that. So I grew up I came into this world much like all of you guys where I was born, and had 2 parents. 2 people brought me here. I'm the oldest of 6. Pretty early on, I realized, I'm very adventurous. I like to find adventures to go on. I like to have a lot of fun. I enjoy companionship, friendship, and all that fun stuff. And when I was about 5 years old, I had an experience that it happened more than once, but I had experienced some sexual assault. And when that occurred, my safety got taken from me, right? My sense of security got stolen. Then to have that validated even further, when I was 6 years old, I was with my grandma, who was we were like this. She's my best friend. I was at her house every single weekend. I was born on August 25th. She was born on August 26th. We were tight. And this one weekend, she was burglarized and also sexually assaulted. And I was with her for that experience. So very quickly, when I was young, my safety got stolen from me. My sense of innocence got taken from me. I also learned to hate. I also learned what it was like that I wanted somebody else to die. Right? I didn't like these men that harmed my grandma. I didn't know really what to think at that age about the individual who did what they did to me, but I knew that I wanted these guys to die. It was hard. Watching somebody you love get hurt. It's hard being hurt yourself, but I started developing this storyline in my life about what the outside world is. Fast forward a little while forward, when I'm about 9 years old, just before my 10th birthday. At this point, I've got 2 younger brothers and a younger sister. She was 6 months old. She's sitting right back there. You guys are going to hear from my sister, Caitlin, and her friend, Rachel. She's going to do the sound bath for you guys today. Give them a hand. Speaking of, since we're talking about breath work, if you want to get involved, I'm going to plug them. Unveil Me is an amazing, amazing experience. So if you want to get into some holotropic breath work and kick out some au naturel DMT, that's the place to go. So when I was 9 years old, my younger brother, who was 4, we were on a family trip every year. We'd go to Lake Powell, and he drowned. And this is just another one of those experiences. So before I even reached 10 years old, age of 10, I have these experiences in my life that clearly defines what this world is like. And the world's scary. And it completely defines who I am. That's what I start to realize, is that all these experiences outside of me are telling me who I am. And what I am is I'm not strong enough to save the people I love. I'm not strong enough to rescue them. And the world is a scary place. And that I'm not enough, ultimately, because I've realized that there's not a single person in this room or the rest of the world who has escaped childhood unscathed. Every single one of us have some sort of trauma or pain or something that has hit us so hard in our childhood that it hurts, and we've got some work to do. We all got work to do. I have got a spiritual theory on this that goes beyond just like the material world here, and I'm not going to get into that. I'd love to have a conversation about it some other time, but if you're interested, hit me up. So I figure out what this life is all about very, very young, right? My mom puts me in therapy, and all the therapists are telling her, and Ian's fine, by the way. That's my real name, Ian. Ian's fine. He's okay. He's dealing with life, just completely okay. so I get involved with therapy. My mom is being told that I'm okay, that there's nothing to worry about. And I was, from what my mom says, a very happy, outgoing, lucky go happy kid. And I was adventurous, and I just really found a way very, very young how to present myself in a way that told you I was okay. And if you thought I was okay, then I was okay. It's this whole like storyline that we get going with, right? Because we need the outside world to tell us that we're okay. So fast forward a little bit, my dad ends up going to treatment. I get kind of like a little bit of initiation into the 12-step world. Little did I know that I would have many, many judges prescribing me the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous as I got older. But we all got involved with therapy at that age. And so I started picking up on the lingo of psychology, of therapy, very, very young. And I later developed what I like to call inapplicable information. Like I could talk you off a ledge, but I couldn't talk myself off one. In fact, I always lived on a ledge, right? And so the years of therapy led into some diagnosis, and I got told that I suffered from PTSD at the age 17, which would have been great had I not already 2 years prior found a lovely thing called alcohol and marijuana. I'd already been medicating myself for 2 years, and that worked, right? That was my solution. Yeah, for the first time in my life since I was 4 years old, I felt safe when I got drunk, when I got high. I felt okay. I felt connected to everybody else around me. And it's funny, out of the 6 guys, statistically, out of the 6 guys that I drank with that very first time when I was 15, all of us got these screaming headaches because we stole 6 bottles of wine from my mom. And 2 out of the 6 wake up the next morning while everybody else is saying, I'm never doing that again. Him and I are saying, let's do that again. Right? 1 out of 3. So statistically, yeah, that's a real thing. I fast forward, I don't think I rung the bell of alcoholism or addiction until I was probably in my mid-20s when after a neck injury, I got physically dependent upon opiates. And everything prior to that, even after, judges telling, I had a federal judge, I had local judges sentencing me to different types of 12-step programs starting at age 16. I didn't quite ring that bell yet because I didn't know what dependency was. I was just really rebellious. Like you were not going to tell me how to live. I was going to do what I wanted. This is my country. I came to party, right? Like that's how I operated. So it wasn't until I was in my early 30s that I went to drug court. I successfully completed that program. Recovery court is what we call it now. I successfully completed that program, but I don't know if it was really success because the week before that I was graduating, I had crack and pills like loaded up. Like it was just really to pass your test. That's what it's all about. Like if I could prove to you I was okay, then I was okay, and I was going to do it my own way. Because remember, the solution to me was a chemical one, always has been. Whether that's sex, doesn't matter, drugs, alcohol, anything that's going to give me a chemical change inside my body, that is what I'm going to go for. That's my fix. And I historically have used people as drugs. Like that creates like dependency and I feel better. But so I did this back and forth in active duty addiction for most of my adult life. Like I learned about the disease model when I was really young. I went to treatment the first time when I was 22, learned about it then. And in the rooms of AA and the rest of the 12-step programs, I learned how to talk more of the talk that I already knew to tell you that I was okay. And I could usually talk my way out of any situation over a long enough period of time. I could prove to you that I was okay, and I'd get out of the legal troubles or whatever else I was in. And, I got married. I had kids. I went through all these things in and out of the rooms for 20 plus years, about 23 years. And this whole time throughout my life, again, I'm having this story that's being told about myself, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not worth it. And it'd be really nice if our narrator inside spoke in those terms, right? No, but it doesn't. It shows up in ways that are like, internal intimidation, right? Or resistance, laziness, like the different ways in which we sabotage ourselves is the way the narrator plays out. And we've already learned today with Dave and Susie that there's the neural pathways that we are creating. Like that's not taught in school. Well, we're taught by our own experience, and our parents, they didn't, or lack thereof, They didn't intentionally hurt us. They were operating based on what they know. We got a lesson plan that we're all running off of, right? Like there's no handbook when you're born says, here, it says user manual on it, right? Nobody has that. But we have a lesson plan that's handed down to us. So I've got this narrator that's been running inside my head most of my life, and I don't even know that it's running because that's my experience. That's all I know is just this one way to think. And it might sound crazy, but it's okay to accept that we got multiple narrators going on in our head. You know, we talk about our higher self or lower self, but we have these different voices that tell us, you know, this is okay, this is not okay. But most of it's based on a result that we're trying to get from some outside experience. Because you know what? I've got sober a lot of times, and not once did I ever want to get sober. I just wanted my circumstances to change, right? And so I came up with my ego is really, really crafty. I came up with a lot of different ways for myself to get through these things as we've already discussed, ways for me to pass your test so I feel all right. But the voice is constantly telling me what to do all the time, every single day from the moment I wake up. And so I have to find a new way to think about and to actually operate. But the only way I'm going to be able to do that is to acknowledge the fact that I have this voice inside me. I've got this operating system that's running faulty code that's been running probably my entire life. And I probably need a little bit of forgiveness and compassion for myself is going to go a long way. But I didn't even know what those two things it meant at all for myself. I had to learn those things. And that's what we've been talking about already today, is figuring out that how we're going to rewire those things so we can operate in new ways. Because until I eliminate the code that's running inside of me, the narrator's voice, I can't operate in a new way. Same way with our parents, right? Our parents operated on a lesson plan that they knew and they executed it perfectly, even though they've hurt us. Or maybe they didn't hurt us, but no matter what, we have some things that we get to work out. And that fed into that narration that's constantly running inside of us. This is my biggest problem right here, is I continued to defend something inside of me that prevented me from changing. I wasn't willing to take a look and examine what was going on inside of me. And if I'm not willing to look at that, if I'm only willing to defend it, I can't change that which I fight so hard to keep in the way it is, right? Like I have to acknowledge that something needs to change. And I have to be willing to change it. And I can't change it if I'm just going to continue to defend it. So this has been one of the largest things for me that caused me to stay stuck in the way I was. And I count my foundation is for my recovery is in the 12 steps, right? I'm sure there's a lot of people in here that can say that. And I appreciate what the 12 steps have done for me. And if you look at any type of program out there, they kind of teach the same 3 values. And those values are what helped me recondition myself to change the code inside me, to alter the narrator's theme so I could live a different life. And it's essentially service, unity, recovery, right? How we connect with other people. The tribe that we seek is going to be the person that we are. So we have to connect to a tribe that's larger than ourselves, right? Like-minded individuals, people who are out there trying to change the dynamic that runs inside of them. And if you're like me, I didn't know how to do that because obviously what I was operating on didn't work. Connecting with others is the way in which we're going to aspire to new things in life. They are the reflection that we need in order to change the way we are inside of us. So changing my conditioning, my code was the thing that I struggled with most of my life. And that's because of the stories that I had running since I was very, very small and the world wasn't safe, that I'm not enough, and that I need you to make me feel better because that's the only way I know that I'm okay, right? Something had to happen for me to unravel those stories. And I'm not going to go into the gory details of what those things were for me, and they're pretty crazy, and I had a lot of those experiences in my life, but we all have them. Eventually, we're going to hit some sort of wall, and that's the beauty of being an alcoholic. Why I can say I'm so grateful today because I'm an alcoholic. I've had to face the mirror. I've had to look at myself in a way and make a decision to change that I never would have had I not been an alcoholic. Because I'm an alcoholic, I am engaged in program and in rooms like this that billions of people on this planet will never touch. And for that, I am grateful. I get to work with others. And just like someone worked with me to cause my lights to turn on, I get to work with other individuals where their lights turn on. And there's nothing more beautiful than watching somebody else's lights turn on. It's pretty powerful stuff. And that is why I can say today that my alcoholism, my weakness, has become my superpower. Again, it allows me to connect with people. It allows me to work in environments that I would never have worked in before had I not been an alcoholic. And it's not to say that you have to be an alcoholic in order to do such things. It just so happens that because I'm an alcoholic, I had to look at my life because the circumstances in them was not so great, right? So the mirror. The mirror is the thing that we can't escape. We can't live without. There's a lot of different ways we hear about it from Ruiz. He calls it the Metote, the Toltec religion. And it's something that starts when we're very young. In fact, I think it's like something that's just like built into us. Like, I require you to see me. And that's the only way around it. Like, I have to be able to see myself through you. And if I don't see myself through you, I can't know where I'm at. But the problem with that is that I also have this code inside of me that says, without your validation of me, I'm not okay. And that's a hard script to flip, right? Like, that's a really tough one for us to accept, is that I'm of value, I'm of worth, that I'm enough by myself without needing you to tell me. So I ran my entire life using other people as drugs because I needed to feel okay. So I needed that dopamine, serotonin kick from the rest of you all. So I felt all right. How do I operate in this world without that, but still having to live with the reflection that we all require in order to pass through this? Because this is a spiritual journey that we're all on. We're in this together, right? And that's we wouldn't be standing or sitting here today if we weren't about trying to change the stigma and educate ourselves about addiction and awareness in a way that can change the world, because that's what we're really here to do. And that world that I'm trying to change is here. And I need to shorten that distance between here and here in order for me to do that. And I need your guys' help. So I have to change the one that lives inside me. If I can't do that, the world will carry on the same way it's always been. And it's going to carry on exactly the way I believe it to be. It's pretty wild that for me to accept that, it required me to have these, to challenge the beliefs that I had about me. Because I can watch that, I can turn on the news and I can see all sorts of crazy shit about what's going on in this world, right? It can be kind of a scary world out there. But it also can be said that whatever I change inside me, whatever's existing inside me, is exactly what I experience on the outside of me, right? It's kind of funny that I don't get cut off in traffic anymore. It's kind of like this change that's happened inside of me because I choose to engage the world in a different way. I give what I want to receive. I see what I want to believe. And that's how it works. So change always is starting within. And this is part of the problem, right? Is that if I am searching outside of myself for that thing that's going to make me feel okay, I will be on a constant search the rest of my life. I have to accept the fact that it's inside of me. I have to be willing to look at my life in a different way in order for me to accept that it's really here. It's not going to be out there. And what I find in here is going to be exactly what I see out here. So if I'm constantly trying to find the validation of my own worthiness in you, I'm never going to get it. Because you will never be enough, no matter what it is. No matter what it is that I seek, you can go on a hunt for all the riches in the world and finally get those riches, and you're going to probably wind up saying that's not enough because I'm not enough. So it doesn't matter what you have in your hand; it matters what you have in your heart, right? So we just kind of talked about the loop already. I didn't really call it the loop, but that's what I got. That's what I lived, right? And you guys can probably relate with that. You've dated the same person with a different name and a different face how many times, right? You've worked at the same job with a different name and a different amount on your paycheck over and over again. We go through the same cycles again and again. And I believe that that's only because we are forced to heal that which lies inside of us that's unhealed. Because we all have a wounded child that we have from our experiences when we were young. And we're going to have that reflected back to us. The universe has no choice but to give to us that opportunity to heal again and again and again and again until we get it right. That's why we get in this loop. And this is where the term all men are assholes come from, right? I'm not going to try and debate that. But all I can say is I probably got a little bit of something inside me that's calling out for it, that's inviting that opportunity to heal. And so I'm going to stay stuck in that loop because the universe, the world is going to reflect exactly what is inside of me. So I'm going to experience that loop over and over and over and over again until I heal. And there's a couple different ways we can look at that. We can look at like, I just have really shitty luck, or I have a lot of opportunity, right? We can shift that, we can look at it, and that's just a perspective change. And it goes back to what we learned from David Souza earlier. So we got to change those neural pathways, and we just got to start with new habits. And I can't go from a change into like my circumstances that I don't like and get sober and just expect it to be all different, right? Like I've got to start changing what's going on in here. And the only way for me to do that, the only way I learned how to do that, and I've noticed that a lot of people are the same, is to change everything. I've got to change the people I hang out with. I got to change the type of things that I watch on television. I got to also accept the fact that maybe my opinions aren't working for me. You want to reevaluate those, right? We want to take a look at the things that have not worked in order to change into the things that do. Because if I'm living in parallel to how I lived before, nothing's going to change. In fact, I got to start living in contrast to how I once lived in order for me to have a different type of life, to change the reflection that the world is giving me. That usually happens, again, with a break. For me, it was living at the point of the mountain, living off of Hot Pockets and vodka and crack and heroin and whatever else I could get my hands on, until I was literally broken, screaming in the mirror, God, to kill me. When I took it into my own hands, God took that from me too. And if it wasn't for a couple individuals who show up, not even working in concert, but they worked in concert, got me into a treatment center, I wouldn't be here today. And that was my break. I thought that I had, and this is going back to what Dave and Susie were talking about, I thought that I had destroyed my body. My motor functions were shot. I couldn't form a complete sentence without stuttering. I mean, I was a wreck. Like it was really bad. And that caused me to really evaluate for the first time in 20 years, in and out of treatment centers and jail and everything else you can imagine. Like I went through all that stuff, and not one of those was enough to cause me to change, but something clicked. I don't know what it was. And I call it a download, but I got a download. And later it was, while I was in treatment, there's a line that a quote I'm going to give because it beautifully illustrates what clicked inside me. And it's from a book called The 12 and 12. Some of you guys might be familiar with that. And it's the spiritual axiom that says, whenever I'm disturbed, no matter the cause, there's something wrong with me, right? So that means that no matter what's going on outside here, it doesn't matter whatever slight you give me, or whatever compliment you give me, or whatever any insult that you give me, it's as only powerful as my belief in it. One, and two, you can't come up and like put your anger in me. It's my anger. I own it, right? You can't put sadness in me. You can't put joy in me. There's nothing that you can put inside me. We can share happiness, but it all is inside me. And for some reason, whatever reason, that time in my life, being as broken as I was, it clicked. Like that made absolute sense to me, that the answer and the solution to my problem is not out here, it's in here, right? And I choose to live in a solution with my higher power today, not try and seek something outside of myself like a chemical or another human in order for me to feel better. And that for whatever reason, that was my break. And from that, I learned that the only way to have any harmony or create a new harmony, because really, if we're living in a terrible low vibration, we are in harmony with that low vibration, right? So it doesn't matter which vibration we're in, but that I had to live in contrast to how I lived before, which was big because I only know one way of operating, one way of living. And so I had to find a new tribe. I had to find new ways to look at life. I had to find a new way to evaluate and to operate. I had to change that code as that we've been talking about today, which is hard because that narrator is really strong and really powerful, which means the mirror reflects exactly back. And so I keep revalidating, it's that self-fulfilling prophecy. This is something that I wrote that's similar to the quote I just said or quoted, that I can go around all day and be constantly upset by everything in life. I can have opinions about everything. I can be upset and irked by about everything in my life. It doesn't matter what it is, but all of that resides in me. When I heal that, then the outside world doesn't become so disagreeable. This is just more to the point, right? That narrator creates the lens in which we view the world from in the mirror. reflects that back. So again, guys, I want to say thank you for having me here today. I'm usually more comfortable standing in front of a bunch of people inside of a treatment center sharing stories. So thank you for bearing with me. Yeah.